All right, peace and blessings. It's Sunday, March the 11th, the year 2018. David Hinkson wrote a letter to Alex Jones regarding silver. And it's not for me to tell David Hinkson who to write a letter to and who not to. And regardless of my personal opinion about somebody, I don't censor a prisoner. So, I may not like Donald Trump, but if a prisoner wants to write a letter to Donald Trump, that's their business. I don't push my will upon other people. Unlike many that I've seen, right? I allow people to have their free will and to make their own decisions, unlike many who want to force me to live the way they see life. But anyway, here's a letter from David Hinkson to Alex Jones. It's been uploaded to his webpage. And so if you want to download it and read it for yourself, go to his webpage and just look for the name Alex Jones, and you can download it and read it yourself. If you want to stick around, I'm going to read it into YouTube. My name is David Hinkson. I have been a provable political prisoner for 16 years. I now listen to your show every chance I get, but it have not been found in Kentucky. I'm now writing you this letter to ask you for any I'm not writing you this letter to ask you for any specific thing, as I would just like to make some clarifying points about colloidal silver and express my opinion about silver products in general. Many of you guys know that Alex Jones sells a colloidal silver product called Silver Bullet. First note that I studied chemistry to a large extent while going to college, and I have read many college chemistry books over the years, as this has been one of my passions. I worked with the late Douglas Noland, who was a mining expert in Las Vegas, and we working together and actually got the monoatomic so-called white gold to become real yellow gold. And we also took real yellow gold and turned it back into white powder, monoatomic gold. This has never been done before by anyone that I know of. I thought you would know about monoatomic gold, as Art Bell used to talk about it on the Coast to Coast years ago. I even interviewed a man named David Hudson on my talk show who claimed that he discovered the monoatomic gold. What I'm trying to tell you here is that I had become an expert in the field of mineral supplements and the associated chemistry. I also have a degree in naturopath. As for credentials, I was doing such a good job in my field that the FDA targeted me and put me in prison just to shut me up for 43 years. You might find some of my comments very interesting, as in the past I actually went to Russia to do clinical work for the Doctors Without Borders. And I also worked exclusively with doctors who work for the Doctors Without Borders. I guess you could say that I think that I'm the foremost expert in the world on infectious diseases. I did many clinical trials in many countries, including the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Swaziland, Ukraine, and Russia, as I worked with a man named Anton Botha, B-O-T-H-A, Botha Diamond Mines in South Africa. I have given lectures on infectious diseases in all of these countries to regular doctors. My last lecture was in October of 2002 as I spoke at the Infectious Diseases Symposium in Kharkov, Ukraine, to over 250 Russian-speaking doctors. In attendance at this time were 2 surgeon generals, Belarus and Russia, and my interpreter was the late Roman Ponomarenko. In 1988, I started doing my own talk show called The David Hinkson Show on the WWCR, Worldwide Christian Radio, and I was on the air right after Bill Cooper, Behold the Pale Horse. I found, like you, that it takes a lot of funds to stay on the air, $10,000 a month just for WWCR. So while I was attending and speaking at a Whole Life Expo about ozone therapies, I met a well-known man named Bob Beck, who was giving a lecture on colloidal silver, and he invited me to attend. Bob was selling a machine that made colloidal silver using electricity. During my visit with Bob, he told me that I should start making a silver product and that I could sell it on my talk show to pay for airtime. He kind of challenged me to do this at this time. Then about 1 year later, I was again attending another Whole Life Expo, and this time I brought with me a sample of some silver water that I had just finished creating. Then again, Bob came by my booth where I was selling ozone machines for $300. And at this time, I pointed at the 8-ounce Care jar, K-E-R-R jar, glass sitting on a table and said, "Here is the new silver product that I created as you challenged me to do." And he said, "What is that?" "That cannot be silver water, as it is totally clear." I responded by saying, "That is silver and water, and there is about 500,000 parts per million in this jar, and that means that it is 50% pure silver by volume. And Bob stated that is impossible. And I said, here, let me dip this silver litmus paper into the jar and you can see for yourself how much silver is in there. So I dipped this litmus paper into the cure jar and it turned totally black, off the chart. Then Bob picked up that cure jar and was astonished. That was like picking up a lead brick. There really was more than 50 ounces of silver metal in the clear liquid, 8 ounce. Let me read that again. There really was more than 50 ounces of silver metal in the clear liquid, 8 ounces. I had also had my silver product tested for nitrates and it contained 0.00001 nitrates. In other words, there was no real nitrates levels present in my Water Oz silver product, as it tested as having less nitrates in it than regular spring water. So again, Bob invited me to come hear his lecture and I again went. Then Bob called my name and he had me stand up and he told the audience that I had created the first pure colloidal silver that was clear and that they should go by my booth and check it out. I never referred to my silver product as being a colloid, as the word colloid, in my opinion, does not really denote a very small particle size. A marble-sized piece of silver in the water could still be considered a colloid. My silver particles are and were smaller than an angstrom. Thus, there was no Tyndall effect present when a laser light is shown through the silver medium. I went on over the next few years to sell millions of dollars worth of Water Oz silver water at 100 ppm. I also sold and shipped a silver product that was 600 ppm that was to be used only in nebulizers to abate tuberculosis, TB. All of my silver bottles were in PET plastic, clear plastic, and you could shine a laser light through the contents and there was never a Tyndall effect. Note that my Water Oz factory was firebombed after I was in prison for 12 full years. So yesterday, I was talking to my friend Rudy on the prison phone, and he asked me what I thought about the silver water that you are selling over at your website, Prison Planet. I did not know how to respond to this question at first, as I have no way to go and see your product, and then I said, well, it should be clear as water, and it be at least 100 parts per million, and if you shine a laser light through the liquid, there should be no Tyndall effect, and it should test as having absolutely no nitrates in it. I have consumed many gallons of this clear Water Oz silver water, and I now have a lot of silver left over in my system. Yet I still get and can get the flu these many years later. I'm sorry to say that the silver in general ended up not doing exactly what I initially was told that it would do. I'm just keeping it honest with you, as I still like to use silver for some applications. Here's the problem. Silver, whether it is clear or not, really can stay centralized in the system to provide a kind of ongoing immunity from virus, as it really does stain and stay localized, but it really does not osmosis everywhere very well, as it really does not cross the blood-brain barrier, spinal fluid barrier, or travel in and through the lymph system. What this means is that I had 100% great luck removing TB fast when I just had a patient in India, for example, inhale the silver vapor at 600 parts per million, thimble full size, as the silver vapor would coat and permanently stain the exposed lung tissue surface and thus further provide a permanent protection against any lung type infections now or in the future. Note that silver works good if we really just want the silver to stain and stay localized, i.e. to stain the lung tissue. This means that we could actually treat a person with the silver in a nebulizer for the sole purpose of making sure that the person never gets TB, or for that matter, any other type of lung infection in the future. Usually just one treatment did the job, but for severe cases, it sometimes in fact took up to 3 15-minute treatments with the nebulizer to remove even terminal TB. So if a person just wanted to gargle with the silver to remove strep throat, it would do a great job and would remove a permanent or long-lasting stain in and around the surface of the throat tissue. Silver also worked great if put on a burn or even a sunburn, as it stains as seemed to even abate the pain of the burn. Then a few years later, I actually created a non-toxic copper solution that had no nitrates in it. Note that copper is listed as a poison that can cause a disease called Wilson's disease. Wilson's disease is caused when the copper is a colloidal, heavy metal particle. Note that the law that they are now using to prosecute the people in Flint, Michigan for the lead in the water problem is called the Lead and Copper Act. Here is the point. Copper, if made wrong, can be extremely toxic. The negative side effects of consuming copper, that is in the form known as a colloid, particle size is too large, is that you cannot keep food in your stomach as you continue to throw up, and you get totally constipated, as it really does affect the entire digestive tract to an extreme level. But a few months ago, I read an article in the Wall Street Journal that said that they are going to start using copper on the tabletops, doorknobs, and facet handles in hospitals, as copper has been shown to kill all nitrogen-breathing pathogens. Back in the day when I first started drinking and having others drink the non-toxic copper product to remove the common cold, it really worked to a degree that surprised me. Here is the point. Copper, when made correctly, can cross the blood, brain, and even spinal fluid barriers, and it can also move throughout the entire lymph system. Copper does everything that they claimed that silver was supposed to do and better, but copper does something that silver could never do, as it has been shown to kill 100% every parasite known to man. I had a doctor who had been working in Africa call me and thank me for saving his life, as he had contracted a brain-eating amoeba and was going to surely die. The copper really saved him. Right now, there is no way to treat, cure, or even abate having a brain-eating amoeba, as you will surely just die, as they know of no cure. As I knew that copper passed all of these different barriers and was in the lymph system, I knew it also killed all nitrogen-breathing pathogens, and I knew that the body secretes lymph fluids into the lung cavity called phlegm when there is an infection. I had the idea of having my cousin Derek Karchner drink an 8-ounce glass of copper water at 300 parts per million. He told me that he had been coughing for 3 months and he could not find a way to stop coughing. This test worked well, as 2 hours later he drank the glass of copper water. His cough was completely gone. Then my lawyer friend named Scott Cantor in Las Vegas was diagnosed with terminal lymphoma, but we had never tested in on a cancer before. I knew that copper could cross the lymph system and that it killed all parasites and viruses. So this was a very interesting test. Scott consumed 8 ounces a day at 300 parts per million for 30 days until the gallon was gone. And he went back in for the cancer test, and at this time they told him that he no longer had lymphoma. When I first drank about 8 ounces of copper at 300 parts per million, I felt a worm-like thing crawling across my forehead under my skin, large parasite. I broke out with a rash all over my body that was caused by millions of small parasites trying to get away from the fact that I now had copper in my system. Most people don't even know they have parasites. Read the book titled What Came Home to Dinner, and you will find that most everybody on this planet has some kind of parasitic infection. They are in fact handed down from mother to child for generations. Even cooking food does not kill the eggs. Note, these modern medicine does not ever check anyone's blood before they do a blood transfusion for these microscopic parasites. There are in fact 10,000 different kinds of microscopic parasites on this planet. Most people have never lived a day without having them in their system. I have seen children with asthma lose their asthma when copper is consumed. I have seen people lose all of their allergies when copper is consumed. There is now an award being offered under the concept of crowd innovation that I read about in the Wall Street Journal for $25 million if someone can find a way to kill penicillin-resistant bacteria. Well, boys, this copper really does the job, but the establishment really does not want to find a new low-cost treatment or cure, as in my opinion, it is all about making money. Note that taking copper has been shown to improve the liver's ability to digest all proteins. Note that decomposing parasites and viruses are in fact a new source of protein. LOL. Remember earlier in the article I made the statement that copper really affected the digestive tract? Well, it really does, and that brings me to another point. There are some diseases that actually caused by the liver's inability to digest protein. Some of these diseases are multiple sclerosis, MS, MD, multiple dystrophy, I don't know how to pronounce that, Lou Gehrig's disease. I have 2 black ministers in New York put their labels on my copper product, Cap Distributing, and they then gave out free samples to all of his church members. Then he noticed that a lady lost her sickle cell within a few days. I'm not saying that it is a cure for every disease, but it would now seem that everything we have tried it on seems to have worked up till now. I was arrested before I finished testing the copper on MS and MD. I saw a story in the Wall Street Journal about a woman who had two young boys who both had MS and were both wheelchair bound. And in the story, the bottom line was they were both going to die, and soon. I would give anything to be able to reach this nice lady and let her test the copper on this condition, as I really care about these two boys, and I think that my copper concept might be the miracle they are praying for. So during this period of time, I came up with a new concept that I termed NTSS, non-toxic saturation safe. If a mineral can be used as an NTSS agent, it means that we can consume a lot of it without experiencing any negative side effects. For instance, the minerals that I found that were the best as being NTSS agent were calcium, zinc, and copper. The problem here with the NTSS concept is you really have to take enough of a certain mineral to actually raise the blood and lymph serum levels, to the point where something really great or interesting can happen. Just consuming a small amount of something like the FDA states you should do might not really do the job. The secret here is that we are putting 3 minerals in a state where they are really pre-digested and in the right correct form. And this means that your digestive tract does not have to do anything in order to assimilate it and use it. I can remember as I got started selling my 19 different minerals. Each one of them had a slightly different story. But of course, not all of them ended up being as interesting as the copper product. But there were 3 others that ended up being very interesting. Zinc. Zinc, when made correctly and consumed as an NTSS agent, ended up 100% stopping the sexual replication of all viruses within 15 minutes. Therefore, if the blood serum zinc levels could be maintained for 10 days, all of the virus throughout the entire body system would now lose their ability to sexually replicate. So this concept alone could be used to treat an AIDS patient, as after 10 days they can't replicate anymore, and then after 30 days they all die off of old age. I had Larry Wayne Harris, who retired from the CDC in Georgia, do the first test on my special zinc product. Note, Larry was arrested for having anthrax on the plane when Bill was in the White House and Larry was on his way to visit me in Las Vegas, Nevada. Indium. I guess we need to look up that Larry Wayne Harris dude. Indium. Indium, when made correctly, indium sulfate is now sold as indium and is a poison. If enough of it is consumed, can give a person the same feeling that he would get if he drank a glass of red wine, and this buzz can last for over 24 hours. So this so-called buzz shows up in about 20 minutes. One overweight lady drank 2-ounce dose of indium at 100 parts per million and felt the good feeling and went on to skip eating for 5 straight days. She said she did not get dizzy or hungry or even upset, as just burned off the fat. On the 6th day, she sat down and ate a large meal, and she did not feel hungry until she had the food in her mouth. Overall, a person can use the indium to help lose weight, as a person can just not eat for a week as the fat burns off with no negative feelings or side effects. Indium seems to work well, as it seems to balance the pituitary gland and controls all of the hormones. Everything is controlled by the hormones. For example, the awake and sleep state, insulin, and sex drive. My tests show, I'm going to stop here at the top of page 5. Okay, continuing on at the top of page 5. My tests show that the indium might be the missing fountain of youth, as it seems to balance everything. Doing our own kinesiology test, we determined that indium could extend a person's life by over 400%. This sounds too good to be true. Calcium. Calcium, when made correctly, calcium carbonate is now sold as calcium supplement, and it does not harden bones, causes calcium deposits in the joints to cause arthritis, has been shown to absorb acidic crystalline neurotoxins throughout the entire body system and then remove them all through the kidneys. It is interesting to note here that the fecal matter that is discharged from all the nitrogen-breathing pathogens and parasites is considered to be a crystalline neurotoxin, and in fact, even these decomposing parasites and viruses are also considered to consist of acidic crystalline neurotoxins. In fact, it is actually the flu systems that are caused by the buildup of these acidic crystalline neurotoxins that are secreted as a waste product from these nitrogen-breathing pathogens. Therefore, our test showed that if we consume 4 ounces of our calcium mineral 700 parts per million, it can literally make the flu symptoms disappear within hours. So if a person is really sick and you just want to give them more time to fight the infection, you could just first have them consume 4 ounces of this calcium. It really is not a cure for everything, but it does seem to make the headaches and cough go away fast. For example, if the acidicness of the actual acidic crystalline neurotoxins that are secreted from the pathogen that actually cause your throat irritation and the earache. And as these acidic crystalline neurotoxins are increased in the blood, the hydrogen is then replacing the oxygen levels, and this can lead to death. In fact, pus is just another name for an acidic crystalline neurotoxin. You will note that the pimple in your nose, when drained, quits hurting, as it is this acidic toxin that causes all of the pain. I really, at this point in time, have no financial agenda in regards or promoting any product, as I'm in prison. My concern now is that I need to get this information about the copper to as many people as possible. For example, I would love to give the secret concepts to King Maswati, Swaziland, as we, Botha and I, actually did testing there, and I know the king would remember me. It might also be helpful if someone, like a leader of another country, could call President Trump about the political prisoners of America, me. In the past, one of my secretaries got a little bit out of control and without my permission sent a check to CBC Good Morning America for $6,000 to advertise the minerals. They ran these ads for 2 weeks and we got one call and no sale. This was a complete waste of time, but when I got on the small Lou Epton show as a co-host and we interviewed a couple of people letting them tell their story about how the Water Oz minerals had helped them, and or we would offer out free samples of the copper and or zinc product and invite them to help us test the product, or we would tell them to please email us with the information of someone who had one of the diseases that we were talking about on the air so that we can send them a free sample. The phone went ballistic, ringing off the hook, and our website would stay busy for hours and days. So the end result was that a small local talk show with a small audience actually generated a large amount of interest in sales. At this time, I noticed that even when we offered everybody a free sample, about 40% of the calls that came in ended up placing an order. So we did not make any money or profit on all of the free samples, but we still ended up generating a large amount of sales and orders. Of course, we had 100% money back guarantee on the product. Even if the bottle was completely empty, it would seem that anytime people really feel that you are sincerely trying to help them without some attached agenda, they will respond in mass. Page 6. I noticed that once people started being Water Oz customers, they continued ordering forever, and this generated a large and steady ongoing income. For example, once a person drank a couple of ounces of indium and felt the great feeling buzz, they would forever want more. When we sold these products, we would sell them at a low wholesale price, and as there was a lot of extra profit even at this lower price, we would then paying up to 30% of this wholesale price directly to Lou Epton under the banner of being for advertising, and this paid for most of his airtime. I just think it is the fair and right thing to do, and as I wanted to share the ongoing success with the show that made the sales possible. I guess I learned this as I was having to pay for my own airtime, and the expense for the show was ongoing. It would not be right to just pick up all of those listeners and not share with the host ongoing. I have had the idea of doing a crowdfunding project for the copper. We could ask for a small donation, i.e. $100. We could ask for a small donation, $1, and as Congress just changed the law to now allow us to give tokens, we might be able to give a token, i.e. Bitcoin, or even a small sample of the copper water. What really matters is just getting them to try the product. We can also pay up to 15% as an advertising fee and then just call it a crowdfunding fee for helping us with our crowdfunding project. Standard fee is 10%. I just have many ideas that I would be interested in sharing with you. As I built my Water Oz business and did my own show, David Hinkson Show, I can remember making a few competitors very unhappy. For example, I was supposed to speak at an annual seminar for the naturopaths in Las Vegas, and a doctor named Joe Wallach was scheduled to speak before me. I have known and debated him in the past, and his concepts are wrong. When Mr. Wallach saw that I was speaking after him, he packed up his booth and fled the building. I can honestly tell you that he really hates me. Then when I started selling a better ozonators than Ed McCabe, $2,400 each for the low price of $300 each, he was not happy with me. When I started selling silver that was 100 parts per million, most of them were 3 parts per million, at $25 a gallon, I made a few people angry. But it was the people that were competing with me that would debate me and then work with me and tell the truth that really impressed me, i.e. Bob Beck. To finish this email, I just want to mention that I have another project that I've been working on over these years, and that is I have invented the real Galt motor. If you remember the book Atlas Shrugged that was written by Ayn Rand in the 40s, she had a character in her book named John Galt. In this book, John Galt saved the world with his new Galt motor. It just so happens that I have invented the real Galt motor. The word GALT is a real acronym for Geometrically Amplified Lateral Toroid. It was Mr. Tesla that first coined the word toroid to describe what later would become known as a transformer. My GALT motor is small, lightweight, brushless, and creates a lot of torque for its overall size. A GALT that is physically about 12 inches by 12 inches square will create over 129 horsepower at 130 kilowatts. We now have a picture on YouTube that can be seen if you just type in GALT generator, and the newest picture is the fourth line down. Remember that I got this done from prison and it took several years, as it was not an easy task. If you want to see a better video, you will have to wait a few more days. The GALT motor can now be proven to work, and it can be used to lower the overall cost of AC power bills. It can also be used to power cars, boats, trucks, and planes. In fact, there really is nothing that it will not be able to power. We are finally where we need to be to move forward in high gear. In fact, I now have 6 other energy devices that you might find interesting. I would like to do a series of crowdfunding projects where we can actually raise funds to build these devices. For example, we could raise a small amount to build the Hinkson transformer, no moving parts, and then place them in homes for free as we share the generated profits under a cogeneration contract. I just have so many new ideas to share with you. One of my most favorite new inventions is an electric jet engine that creates its own AC energy as it runs. This design will rev up as fast as the bearings will allow it to go. This would be the best replacement concept to replace the jet engine in all the planes all over the world. I have even tried to offer these inventions to the NQTel.org CIA lenders. So as you can see, I have been busy here in hell, really trying to help what is left of my country. Things have gone a little bit slow in the past, but recently I met a man named Rudy Davis, and he has been a very big help in helping me get the word out about my situation and my inventions. Maybe you could talk with him. Maybe you could take the time to talk with him, your friend Dave. So that's David Hinkson's letter to Alex Jones. I have had no luck whatsoever in getting the attention of Alex Jones for political prisoners. If other people want to try to continue that effort, I encourage them. I have found him to be incredibly unapproachable. But nonetheless, we're going to abide by David Hinkson's wishes, and we're going to publish this letter on YouTube.